Jesus and his disciples went to the Mount of Olives, to the Garden of Gethsemane. When they got there, Jesus told his disciples to pray that they would not fall into temptation. He then moved a little further away from them and knelt down to also pray, alone. Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. An angel came and strengthened him, and he continued to pray so earnestly that beads of sweat like blood fell to the ground.
I surrender my life to your blood. I surrender my name for your glory. I surrender my heart to your will. I surrender my dream to the plans you have for me. Thank you for showing me the emptiness of all I held on to. I surrender it all. I surrender my everything for you. I surrender my life to your blood. I surrender my name for your glory. I surrender my heart to your will. I surrender my dreams to the plan you have for me. Thank you for showing me the emptiness of all I held on to. I surrender it all. I surrender my everything for you. Thank you for showing me the emptiness of all I held on to. I surrender it all. I surrender my everything for you. I surrender it all. I surrender my everything for you.
When he finished his prayer, he went back to the disciples and found them sleeping. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray that you will not fall into temptation." As he was talking to them, a crowd gathered, led by Judas, one of his own disciples. Judas approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus said, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' disciples saw what was going on, they asked if they should take out their swords. Peter reacted quickly, cutting off the ear of the servant of the high priest. But Jesus said, "Stop! No more of this." And he touched the man's ear and healed it. Then Jesus asked all those who had come, "Do you think I'm leading a rebellion, that you have come with swords and clubs? I've been around you many times, and you did not lay a hand on me, but this is your hour when darkness reigns." They arrested Jesus and led him away, taking him to the house of the high priest. His disciple, Peter, followed at a distance, and once they arrived, he sat down with the guards, trying to blend in. A servant girl spoke up and said that Peter was one of the disciples, but he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him," he said. Later, another person recognized him, but he denied knowing Jesus again. Then a third person recalled who he was, and yet again Peter said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Suddenly, he heard a rooster crow, and the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Peter remembered that the Lord had told him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times." Peter left where he was and wept, realizing what he had done.
Alas, and will my Savior bleed, and should my sovereign die, would he devote his sacred head for such a worm as I? It was for crimes that I hath done that he'll groan upon that tree. Amazing pity, grace unknown, but love beyond degree. But drops of blood can ne'er repay the debt of love I owe. Here, Lord, I give myself away. It's all that I can do.
Around 6 o'clock in the morning, a crowd gathered, and Jesus was led before them. "If you are the Messiah," they said, "tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe me. And if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God." They all asked, "Are you the Son of God?" He replied, "You say that I am." Then they said, "Why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips." Then the entire assembly rose and led him off to Pilate. They accused him, saying things like, "We have found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be Messiah, a king." So Pilate, straight out, asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," replied Jesus. Then Pilate announced to the chief priests in the crowd, "I find no basis to charge this man." But they insisted, "He stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here." On hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was Galilean. When he learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod. When Herod saw Jesus, he was greatly pleased because for a long time he had been wanting to see him. From what he had heard about Jesus, he hoped that he would perform a miracle of some sort. He asked him many questions, but Jesus didn't answer. The chief priests and the teachers of the law were standing there continuing to accuse him. So Herod sent him back to Pilate. Once again, Pilate brought his chief priests, rulers, and people together and said, "I can't charge this man. There's nothing he has done. And Herod didn't find anything wrong either, because he sent him back to us. He does not deserve to die." But the crowd continued to push. "Away with this man! Release Barabbas to us instead!" Barabbas had been thrown into prison for an insurrection in the city, and also for murder. The crowd felt like Jesus was the one who should be in prison, not Barabbas. They kept shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Again, Pilate said, "What is his crime? I have no grounds to charge him with the death penalty." But finally, he gave in to the crowd. He decided to grant their demand. He released the prisoner who had been accused of insurrection and murder and gave him to the crowd, and then put Jesus in prison. Jesus was flogged as he was handed over to be crucified. As the soldiers led Jesus to Calvary, they continued to mock him, to torture him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They spit on him, and they took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off his robe, and then they led him away to crucify him. Finally, they arrived at the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. Above his head, they placed the written charge against him. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. As they crucified him, they were crucifying 2 others as well, one on either side of him. Both were criminals. Throughout the time, the soldiers cast lots for his clothing, and as they did so, Jesus spoke from the cross, "Father, forgive them, because they know not what they're doing." The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others, let him save himself. If he is God's Messiah, the chosen one, let him come down off that cross." They continued to mock him. He claimed to save others, but he can't save himself. He trusts in God. Well, let God rescue him now if he wants to.
Fountain filled with blood drawn from Emmanuel's veins, and sinners plunged beneath that flood lose all their guilty stains. The dying thief rejoiced to see that fountain in his day, and there have I, as vile as he, washed all my sins away. I do believe, I will believe that Jesus died for sets me free.
One of the criminals who hung there with him hurled insults at him. "Aren't you the Messiah? Well, save yourself and us." But the other criminal rebuked him. "Don't you fear God," he said, "since you are under the same sentence. We're punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus answered him, "Truly, I tell you, today you'll be with me in paradise."
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, oh tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb?
At noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
"7 words my Jesus spoke, heart broke and blood soaked from a cross intended for me. Free I am, though it should have been I who hung beside my Lord instead of these criminals, individuals who took my place because I misspoke. Denied him 3 times, in fact, before the cock crowed. And now for this man of sorrows there is no tomorrow, suffering shame and blame, sold for 30 denarii. Despised, rejected, chastised, corrected. He opened his mouth and the world disconnected. Now he calls to his Father, deliverance expected. My God, why am I so neglected? Forsaken, no doubt, his tears unheard, his cause absurd, his groans are spurred by seemingly God himself. Abandoned Messiah, the councils conspired, while knelt he bled, his dignity shed. Encircling lions poked the King of Zion, provoked the source of the stars of Orion. Strong bulls of Bashan assaulted the Lamb, Abraham's seed, the exalted I am. Poured out like water, God's heart turned to wax. His strength tripled, though crippled by all of the attacks. back whipped, placed on the racks, maximum torture, he cracked out the words, "I thirst." Vinegar they served him. It was all backwards. The living water dried up as if it was dust, tongue stuck in his throat when we would have cussed. But as disgust, his disgust was not present. Though the past was unrepentant and the future still lamented, a demented acceptance of this desperately wretched, sin-stained world. Yet he called out to them once again with these words too, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." And as he spoke, they cast lots for his cloak. His bones nearly broke. He so strong stood still. His will swelled like that of an oak. But tears lined his cheeks, leaking compassion. Weeping, he's gasping at a sinner and a thief. There's one who believes, but the left one critiques the God-man as he seeks his own way down to hell. But well is the one to the right, he should tell. "Today, my friend, you'll be with me," he yells, "in paradise." Paradise, the immortal prize, eternal life, where I should reside this day had I not betrayed him. Yesterday, when I should have been praying in the garden, I fell asleep. Now left to weep, I agonize. But as bleak are my cries, I still lift my eyes. Hope shall arise, for his mercy supplies. I apologize, Lord, please ignore. Don't penalize, for I testify to your sacrifice of what it means to be alive. And your forgiveness, the witness of your swiftness to cure my sickness and to practice goodness despite my failures, in front of spectators, debaters, and strangers and haters. You said you still love me. Feed my sheep. I repeat, take care of my lambs. A second chance to follow him demands and plans. His work now begins. So tomorrow we'll gather to help one another. Brothers 11, we're sort of undercover. Tax collectors, some zealots, and the sons of thunder. Entrusted to discover Jesus' words of wonder. If only I can crawl out from this rock that I'm under. Lost one already. I'm still struggling with guilt. I'm humbled but troubled. It's hard to admit. But without stutter, to my brother he utters, "John, behold thy mother. Woman, behold thy son." I was stunned. It should have been me, you see, to take care of Mary, but it seems he knew it was necessary. I had withdrew, and I knew it was true. But in my struggle to fight, the stronger his might grew. And right at the height of his deepest wounds came his booming voice, crystal as light, shattering tombs as night fell around us. And despite how it sounded to me, for he, that is God, had not forgotten nor despised the afflicted one's wounds. His face is not hidden, his message concludes. Praises he sings as he sways on the cross. His offering of pain brings pleasure. His thoughts on the poor, on the hungry, the burdened, diseased. For blind, bleak, and bloody his hands nailed and pierced. For sinners like me, for neighbors like you, for worldly murderers and swindlers rescued. Posterity breaks through, future generations expanding brand new. They will proclaim his righteousness. It's true. With lungs and drums, our daughters and sons push through with love from above, to which Jesus returns as he blurts out the words, "Father, into your hands I do commit my spirit." It's time that we hear it, though I know that we fear it. Required the cross, our death is a must. Sacrifice modeled as creation was hushed. Then a smile appeared. It just seemed to fall on his face. With grace bowed his head. He waits, left for dead. The Godhead embraced the dim pathway ahead. His life extinguished. His voice diminished. His breath yet sufficient for one final last word. It is finished. And with that one word, the enemy stood speechless. For even in death, God had so much to teach us. The veil tore in two, the tombs came unglued, creation itself mourned the loss of my Jesus. But the keys were still turning as hell opened wide, while blood mixed with water was released from his side. Descended, it says. He conquered the grave. Those souls long forgotten by grace had been saved. Prisoners free, parole guaranteed. Life everlasting, immortality achieved. And death's dark door was shattered once and for all. And for all whom it matters, his spirit still calls to speak to the world, for it's time for revival. 7 more words coming right from the Bible. Jesus is Lord, and go and make disciples.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood.
See from his head, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did there such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? Were the whole round of nature mine, that were an offering far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all.
At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The dead bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. A centurion who had seen what had just happened praised God and said, "Surely this was the Son of God." The Jewish leaders did not want the bodies left on the crosses because the Sabbath was the next day. So they asked Pilate to have the legs of those being crucified broken and their bodies taken down. The soldiers therefore came and broke the legs of the first man who had been crucified with Jesus, and then the legs of the other man as well. But when they came to Jesus, they found that he was already dead and did not break his legs. Instead, one of the soldiers pierced Jesus' side with a spear, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water. As evening approached, a man named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus, went to Pilate and asked if he could have Jesus' body. Pilate ordered that it be given to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and placed it in his own garden tomb, a new tomb that he had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance of the tomb and went away into the darkness.